So you're considering a move to the Mid-Atlantic region. You're wondering whether or not living in Baltimore or Washington, D.C. is a better fit. And more importantly, which one is cheaper? In this video today, we're gonna break it all down. So stick around, we're getting started with it right now. What is up, everyone? It's Adam Taylor back again with another video all about living here in Maryland. Today, we're answering the question, is it cheaper to live in Baltimore or Washington, D.C.? And in reality, guess what? You know the answer here. It's cheaper to live in Baltimore. But I'm gonna give you a solution, an $18 solution that could make this work if your desire is to be in Washington, D.C. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm gonna give it to you then. But let's just jump right into it and get down to it and give you the reasons why Baltimore is cheaper to live than Washington, D.C. All right, now the first thing that we have to look at, there are a lot of similarities between Baltimore and Washington, as well as a lot of differences here, and the biggest one being a lot of the cost. So we're gonna break that down for you here today. Now, what is pulling people to Washington, D.C. or Baltimore? Here on my team, what we're seeing the most of is this. We're seeing a lot of job transfers or job creation here in the Baltimore metro area and Washington, D.C. Folks are being relocated all the time. Second thing is folks coming in for school, in particular here in Baltimore, more so than Washington, D.C. A lot of folks tend to flock to Johns Hopkins University if they are going to be in the medical field. And then the last thing is for family reasons. You may have an ailing parent that you need to move closer to help support, as they get into their retirement years. Those are the three big things that are pulling people here. Now, Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, they're all of 40 miles apart. The weather here is pretty much exactly the same, but there again are some drastic differences. Let's talk about salaries. And you would think there's going to be a big disparity between the salaries in Baltimore potentially being much lower than Washington, D.C., but that's not the case, my friends. The average salary, according to payscale.com, in Washington, D.C. is $83,000. Now, if you flip it on over and look at the average salary in Baltimore, Maryland, it's at $75,000. So there's only an $8,000 difference in pay between the two cities. So I just gave you the salary information, and in reality, you're looking at an 8.3% increase in pay and working the same position from Baltimore down in Washington, D.C. You're gonna get paid a little bit more. However, this is the big thing. The cost of living to live in either of these places is dramatically different. Cost of living in Washington, D.C. is roughly 40% more than it is here in Baltimore, Maryland. And I think the biggest place where you're gonna see a lot of this money going is in your housing costs. So I went out and I pulled some numbers for you all, okay? And these are numbers that you can just Google yourself and find out for the specific neighborhoods that you may want to live in. But in general, when looking at Washington, D.C., an average two-bedroom apartment is going to rent for $3,239. Now, if I do the same query and just change Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, so two-bedroom apartment in Baltimore, the average apartment is going to rent for $1,600. Guys, that's half. That's 50% difference in rental rates right there. Oh, but it gets better. You'll like this. The average cost of a home. Again, we're only looking in the city limits in Baltimore City, and we're looking in Washington, D.C. The average home cost in Washington, D.C. is $624,924 per our friends over at Zillow. Now, if you, again, do the same query and just change Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, the average home cost in Baltimore is $182,596. Again, that's according to Zillow. Those aren't my numbers. Those are Zillow's numbers. And I want to give you that information because you could see right there alone, you've got half on the rent. It's a 50% increase on the rent. And then, my goodness sakes, it's a third of the housing cost here in Baltimore to live. Now, I will say this, as a local Baltimore real estate agent, I think that number is a little low, okay? Can you get a $182,000 home in Baltimore? Yes, but it's probably not gonna be the home that you want. If you really wanna get to a decent home in a good neighborhood that's gonna be good for you for a few years, like a two-bedroom, two-bath, row home in a nice neighborhood in Baltimore, you're probably starting around that 300-ish range, okay? So even at $300,000, my friends, it's still 50% less to live in Baltimore when it comes to your housing. Now, the next thing I think we really got to look at, okay, because I'm going to go in order of expenses here, my friends, and it's your income taxes as well as your utility costs, okay? The income taxes. Your income tax in Washington, D.C. is roughly about 8.5%. This is a recording of this video, okay? But when you flip it around to Baltimore, and Maryland is set up a little bit different, where you're going to pay tax to the state of Maryland, and then you're going to pay locality tax, essentially, to Baltimore City to live there. And when you couple those two tax rates together, it's about 7.75%. So the delta, the difference between the two, is about 0.75%. Now, here's where it gets a little bit better and you can breathe a little bit. Okay, so let's take a minute to chill, because the utility cost, you're really not going to see a big difference. Again, my friends, look, Baltimore and Washington, D.C., they're separated by 40 miles of highway. There's not this big mountain that you need to go over or go through or go under. There's not this big body of water that you need to go over as well. It's just a straight shot down the highway. So the utility costs, you know, keeping the lights on, your water, your electricity, your internet, all of it is going to be about the same. Look, if this is your first time to our channel and you're looking to learn all about life in Maryland, great news. You landed on the right spot. We do videos each and every week talking about living here, working here, chilling here, and most importantly, getting out and enjoying the great state of Maryland. So if that is the information that you're looking for, I encourage you to please hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to give the little bell a click. That way you're alerted every time we put out another video just like this one. Now, as I mentioned all the time, we have folks from all over the world reaching out to us each and every day, and we absolutely love it when making a move here to Baltimore. Now, if you're looking to make a move or transition here to Maryland, my team and I, we would be delighted to help you out in your transition, but we just need one thing from you, and that's for you to reach out and connect with us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text message, send us an email, or better yet, go down in the description of this video down below and schedule your one-on-one Zoom appointment with our team, because we'd love to see what we can do to help you out in your transition to Maryland, my friends. All right, look, one quick thing here that I really think DC outshines Baltimore on is regarding a lot of entertainment. Okay, don't get me wrong, Baltimore's got tons of entertainment, but again, this is it cheaper to live in Washington, D.C. or Baltimore? And D.C., in my opinion, has some free options for entertainment that Baltimore doesn't. You've got the Washington Zoo, which is free. You've got the national monuments that you can visit that are free. You've got the Smithsonian museums, again, free. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody jump in, chime in, but more importantly, put a link if you're going to say something that it's not free. But the last time I went, hey, all the stuff was free. Now, on the flip side here, if you look at Baltimore, we've got a lot of cool stuff to do, but guess what? You're going to have to pay to get into these places. Places like the National Aquarium, the Maryland Science Center, the Walters Art Gallery, the B&O Railroad Museum. You could go to the Meyerhof to watch the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra play. And when it comes to sports, my friends, Baltimore is the winner here. We've got the Baltimore Ravens, two-time Super Bowl champions in 2000 and 2012, and I think the Commanders, formerly the Washington Redskins, have won 3 Super Bowls, but they've been around since what, like 1932, the franchise has. But good news for DC fans, they've got new ownership in place, and maybe the football team will start winning again. And in baseball, hey, we've got the first place Baltimore Orioles here, and the games at Camden Yards, there is not another stadium that gets as loud as Camden Yards. So those of you that are sports fans, yes, it might cost you a few dollars more to go see a game here in Baltimore, but I'm telling you, the experience alone is worth the cost. My friends, if you are finding value in this video, if you wouldn't mind doing me a quick favor, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below. It's the one that looks like a thumbs up, just like this. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the one, it's just like the one right over my shoulder right here. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give the little bell a click. That way it alerts you, sort of like an alarm clock, when I put out a new video each and every week for you. Now, our next stop on this journey here between looking at the cost of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore is to look at the food scene. Grocery costs, they're going to be very similar in cost. Now, when you go to some of these smaller grocery stores right in downtown Washington, D.C. and downtown Baltimore, prices are generally going to be a little bit higher because you're in an urban area. And we all know that cost, rents, etc. are always higher in the cities. So grocery costs right in the cities are probably going to be similar to each other, but I'm going to say they're probably going to be a little bit higher, maybe 5 to 10% higher in Washington, D.C. But let's look at going out to eat. And again, on the entertainment side, I think DC sort of wins a little bit here, and especially in dining, all right? With all of the international travel going on in Washington, DC, people from all over the world coming to Washington, DC because it's our nation's capital. As you can imagine, every type of food under the sun is going to be available and present in Washington, DC. Now, who knows what you're going to have to pay for it, but you're going to have the variety if you're a person that likes variety. So in my opinion, Washington, D.C., if you're looking for food variety, definitely takes the cake and wins right here. However, if you want that variety trimmed down a little bit and you like seafood, you like getting steamed crabs, fresh cuts of fish, mussels, oysters, whatever it might be, then Baltimore's your spot. We're known for seafood all over the world. However, we have amazing other food, amazing Italian food, amazing Greek food. I mean, I could go on and on. So the food scene in both places is great. You may pay a little bit more in Washington, D.C., but you're bound to be able to find something great to eat in either one of these cities. We've got to look at the traffic in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore next. And guys, look, this is probably one of the worst parts about living in the Mid-Atlantic. Okay, traffic here is not fun. It can be downright treacherous at times. Now, as you get towards Washington, D.C., that's when it gets daunting. And it's not good because let's just say you're heading down Interstate 95 or 295 and you're going along at your merry way, 55, 75 miles an hour, whatever it might be. And then you're cruising and all of a sudden it's like gridlock right around like that Laurel area on 95. And then if you get to like the Fort Meade area, it just stops. And then you start picking back up things. Things will break apart. And for those that are traveling on Interstate 95, you're getting ready to get on the 95, 495 split. And you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to get out here and I'm going to do my thing. And you're getting on and you're buckling your seatbelt because I'm telling you, it's like getting into a NASCAR race. That's the easiest and best way I can describe going around the Capitol Beltway. It is crazy because you're going to have to gun it right when you get on the ramp and haul your little butt into traffic. And then guess what? Be prepared to slam on your brakes because traffic's going to stop almost immediately, my friends. At least that's my experience with the DC Beltway. If you've been on it, you know what I'm talking about, but I would love to hear your experience down below. So drop a comment down below there. But if you've got to travel to work and you don't have any way around it, here's the deal, and here's the secret. I've shared it before. Do it before the birds wake up, okay? What I'm talking about is get into your job before 5, 6 a.m. if you can. And then do the early shift and get out of there by like 2 or 3. That's going to give you your best bet for getting around and getting things done. And more importantly, avoiding the traffic nonsense. Now, the thing in the way that DC, sort of combats this is with their robust metro line system, their subway system. And guess what? DC's subway is awesome, okay? And if you're going to travel into DC, I highly, highly recommend this. Look, my girlfriend and I, we're going to a concert in DC here in the next month, and we're looking at ways to sort of navigate and get around DC to avoid all this traffic nonsense. And we're thinking about jumping on the metro and taking the metro down to FedEx Field for the concert and then heading on back. So if you got to do something like that, I encourage you to check that option out as well, because in reality, Baltimore, we've got a subway system, but it's very, very minuscule. It is not as robust as something that you're going to see in DC. Now, the final thing, my friends, is this, and these are my final thoughts on living in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. It is significantly cheaper to live in Baltimore. You can see the numbers show it. The housing numbers in particular are the majority of your costs that you're going to experience. And they're great cities, and you can get around and do the things that you want to do. But the solution here is this. And yes, I am a little bit biased because I live in Baltimore. I've lived here pretty much my entire life. But the numbers are the numbers, and I'm going to give you a solution to make this all work. And it's an $18 solution, just like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And it's for you to hop on a train. If you want to get to Washington, D.C. from Baltimore, guess what? You can get down there avoid all the traffic and all the stuff that I just told you about, the high housing costs, increased food costs, whatever it may be, by paying $18 to hop on the Amtrak at Penn Station and get off at Union Station in Washington, D.C. That's just a daily fare. So if you have to go in the office maybe 1 or 2 times a month, that's going to be the solution for you, my friends. You're going to be able to save a ton of money by living in Baltimore or one of the suburbs of Baltimore and be able to avoid all that daily headache and frustration and keep more money in your pocket. So if a move to Washington, D.C. or one of the suburbs of D.C. or even here to Baltimore, Maryland is in your future, guess what? My team and I, we want to help and assist you in that transition, but we just need one thing from you, and that's for you to reach out and connect with us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text message, send us an email, or schedule your Zoom appointment using the link down in the description below, because again, my team and I, we have your back from Baltimore down the bay, all the way to the beaches in Ocean City, Maryland. We have you covered. Now, before you go, I want you to check out this next video right here. I think it's going to be your next step in learning more about the great city of Baltimore, Maryland. Until the next video, my friends, take care. I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.